If you open the ball on these people, Mr. Nash, you must be prepared to go all the way. Because they won't give up the fight until one of you is dead.
I want to get Capone. I don't know how to get him.
Want to get Capone? Here's how you get him. He pulls a knife, you pull a gun. He sends one of yours to the hospital, you send one of his to the morgue. That's the Chicago way. And that's how you get Capone.
You're the best
Best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be.
I need the best.
I had the best words.
Well, I'm the best there is.
The best. We the best.
Have a chance to be the best of the best.
You are now listening to Best of the Best, presented by Radar Studios. Starring two guys who use their middle initial to sound cool. Here are your hosts, Neal E. Fischer and Mark P. Smith.
Hey, what's up, Neal?
Nothing too much.
I thought this was a good idea, what you were saying about starting this podcast off with reading a couple reviews.
Yeah, we got some
iTunes.
Reviews. So thank you to whoever wrote in some reviews. We'll read a few of them. If you do send in a review, maybe we'll make this a thing. We'll start reading the reviews.
Yeah, and we would like to have more of your feedback. So anywhere you want to reach out to us on Twitter or Instagram or wherever, Gmail, and it would be great to have any kind of feedback. But yeah, why don't you start with some reviews, Neal?
Yeah, and
these are iTunes.
These are from iTunes,
yeah.
So definitely review us on iTunes. It helps having more reviews and the age of our podcast to become a little more searchable. And I know a bunch of my friends who will remain nameless, but some of you guys were miffed or disturbed of certain movies not being in the top 5 on different episodes. You gotta, write a review, interact with us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. We need that dialogue started, because if you tell me in person, I'm not going to care. So you have to tell us online.
Yeah, that's the whole point of this, is to have a discussion about movies you guys like. What do you guys disagree with, agree with? So we would love your feedback on any outlet. You can find us on Facebook. We're now streaming on YouTube, so every episode is on YouTube, so you can find us. It's better to search with the filter on channel, and you'll find Best of the Best. So
right, just type in Best of the Best Radar, and if you're describing it to people, just say that. All right, so let's get to some reviews. I will do a little shout out. One of our favorite podcasts is High and Mighty with John Gabris. He's an improv comedian and writer and actor. A funny thing that he does is he tells people to roast him in reviews, and if it's 5 stars and it's a roast, he will read it on air. So we're not at that point yet. If we get more reviews, maybe we'll do something fun like that. But these are just your run-of-the-mill reviews that we're thankful for. So number 1, it is labeled "Thank You Movie Nerds," 5 stars by _killed. Enjoyed listening to these lovable movie nerds go down the rabbit hole of cinema.
Nice.
So thank you to Zero Killed.
Thanks, Zero Killed.
What's that a reference to anyway? Do you know? Zero Killed, the name, or maybe it's just a random name?
I think it means like when you're online and you're really bad at those shooting games.
Oh, I see. Like Zero Killed.
Right.
Okay. All right. Next review, Mops48. Love it. 5 stars. Really enjoyed this podcast. It was fun and entertaining. I can tell this will be one of my new favorites. Neal and Mark are great together. So that was a nice one.
Thanks, Mops.
We got one called Canon Horror, which I'm sure is a reference to Canon Films, who we often talk about. It says Movie Buffs
not the
Unite.
Camera.
Right. It's double N. Canon with double N.
Yep.
And then horror spelled like horror is normally spelled. Had a great time hearing movie nerds discuss their perspective on movies. Love the 80s and 90s talks. I like getting new titles to check out. Awesome. Well, glad we could help you out there.
Thanks, Canon Horror.
Let's see. We got one from You Stay Gold.
There's a long one there.
Oh, yeah, let's go to the long one here. It's by Seguin Suit. Or Seguin Suit. It's labeled Fun Stuff, 5 stars. I caught this podcast after renting Best of the Best with Eric Roberts. I thought someone had made an entire podcast based on that movie and wanted to write a review about how comical that was. I started listening and realized it was a show where 2 filmmakers talked movies and then had some cool interviews. I just finished the John Carpenter episode and I'm now hooked. While I think The Thing should be number 1 on that list and Assault on Precinct 13 in the top 5, it's fun to listen to the back and forth and chemistry of the hosts. Looking forward to the future interviews and subjects. I'd love to hear a best baseball movies episode. If you like movie podcasts like How Did This Get Made or Doug Loves Movies with less roasting and more facts and nerding out, then I'd recommend.
Sweet. Thanks, Seguin.
Seguin
suit.
All right, let's just do two more here. We got You Stay Gold. They know their stuff. I think You Stay Gold is a reference to The Outsiders, I'm pretty sure. Stay Gold, Pony Boy. These guys can really put a podcast together.
Run the Jewels uses that too.
Oh, do they? Okay. Great production value, very cool guests, and the ability to riff off of one another. Thank you, You Stay Gold. And the last one here is a little bit familiar. It is by Triviality Podcast. And full disclosure, that's just a shameless self-promotion of the other podcast I co-host. But Triviality Podcast, which was not me, said, enjoyed the show and the little bits of trivia that each host would add into the conversation. Wouldn't be surprised if some of it shows up in our show. We'll give it a credit, we promise. Look forward to the new episodes. Happy launch. Triviality Podcast now on iTunes. Awesome. Well, yeah, check that one out, guys.
Yeah, and I'm not on Triviality, but I hope to be a guest on there, a contestant. And it's a good listen, so you guys check it out, especially if you like trivia. What are we talking about today on the pod?
So today we are talking about best Chicago movies.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah. So we often...
I'm going to act like I didn't know that.
Right, it was your idea. We often talk about how we're in Chicago, how we're in the Chicago commercial and film scene, and what it's like to shoot here. So we thought we've talked about it for however many episodes, 8 episodes, and 8 or 9, and we wanted to go down the list, the very long list of best Chicago movies.
Yeah, I was telling Neal that this would be a good thing to cover in one of our earlier episodes. We've got a bunch out at this point, almost a dozen. So I thought it'd be good to showcase all of the great films that have been not only shot here in Chicago, but kind of use Chicago as like another character as opposed to, just a sort of an urban backdrop, but really like capture Chicago in its essence.
And I think a good way to put it is movies that don't just come here for a day or two, shoot some exteriors and helicopter shots, and then shoot in Toronto.
Right. Yeah, so I think, to piggyback on Neal knows a lot more about the production aspect and the community here in Chicago than I do. He's got a lot of contacts and very networked.
Contact. Sorry, that's my Tribe Called Quest.
Being on the post side, I know a lot in working in this industry for as long as I have. I do know quite a few people in Chicago, and it is a pretty robust production community. We do mostly, I would say, like commercials, and there was actually a good deal of TV produced here and stuff. But now with the Dick Wolf Chicago NBC shows, there's a lot of production happening here.
Right. I mean, you got Chicago Fire, you got Chicago PD.
Yeah.
You have Chicago Med, got Chicago Justice.
Chicago Sanitation.
Although Chicago Sanitation. But I think Chicago Justice is actually getting canceled. But, we did have Sirens, which was about the ambulance.
Right.
We had ER.
ER. And that was shot here in Chicago, too?
ER, well, some stuff was shot here in Chicago, I should say. Like the
that's a good thing about those Dick Wolf shows. There's like a lot of it's shot here. I would say almost all of it, right?
Yeah, I mean they're using our whole community here. There's a lot of people that work on one show, and then the next day they'll go on the other show and do some work on that, depending on what department they're in. So it's a really busy time here right now, and I think it's really good for the TV community. I think it's always good for the commercial community. It'd be nicer if there were more films here. I know we've had our spurts here and there. Early 90s was a big one. Around the time Dark Knight was out, that was a huge upswing as well, kind of ending with Transformers. But, it's a very friendly film city. We have a great 30% tax credit, which rivals, Louisiana, Atlanta, Vancouver, and some other places. And I just think we have some of the best crew in the world. I mean, we have great camera operators. The people that we're lucky enough to work with at Radar Studios are just some of the sharpest, most talented crew that you can find, all the way from gaffer down to PAs. So I think it's a very lucrative city to make something in, and I hope more people do it. So segue. Let's see. Mark, do you want to put one into the mix right away, or are you going to do some honorable mentions first?
I think we'll get right into it, and then maybe you can mention some other ones that maybe you
All right, yeah, go ahead.
on the outside. But But like I said, parameters here are movies that were filmed in Chicago and really capture Chicago in the story itself, almost like another character, essentially.
I will say,
postcard.
Some of these movies that I know are on both of our lists. They might have, some photography might have been in a different state, but it is a Chicago movie.
Yeah.
So those are fine, right? I think they have to be. I mean, if a good portion of it was shot in Chicago.
Yeah, and we're talking about Chicagoland area because, a lot of these movies that we'll talk about are, suburb too. So.
Right. Okay.
Which I think if you live in this area, people just call it Chicago anyway. So.
Exactly. Yeah. If you go anywhere else in any other state, people ask you where you're from. It's Chicago, even though you live 45 minutes outside of the city. Okay. Go for it.
So I'm gonna throw in my. I don't know if it's my ace, but I'm gonna throw in a.
Is this your Greg Maddox?
This is a Ryan Sandberg.
Not
an Ernie Banks, but a Ryan Sandberg of movies here for Chicago. So Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Ooh, see, that's a strong one right there.
1986. I got to go right off the top because I didn't want Neal to take that.
Well, you probably knew I love John Hughes. I will say, too, from your point, there's a lot of John Hughes movies, obviously, that filmed here. He was from here. Shermer, Illinois is fake town, but it's Chicago. It's a suburb. And this probably is the most Chicago John Hughes movie he's made.
I would agree. You got 16 Candles, Breakfast Club, what's the other? Home Alone, which he's I think wrote and produced.
Right, Weird Science.
Weird Science. So almost all his movies take place
Uncle
in
Buck,
Chicagoland
Planes,
area.
Trains, and Automobiles.
Uncle Buck. And to Neal's point, Ferris Bueller I put on my list because it's such a I don't know how to say it more than it is like a postcard of Chicago. It's like his love letter to Chicago because he somehow infused in this journey of a single day that a guy and his friends skipped school. Somehow infused almost some of the greatest like Chicago landmarks that they partake in, visit, from like the Art Institute to Wrigley Field to the parade he's in over in the Loop.
Singing Wayne Newton and Beatles.
When I was a kid, we watched this movie a million times, and I just thought Chicago was so cool, and this movie made me really, really love Chicago from afar. And I was bummed when I came here and realized that the Sausage King of Chicago scene, that restaurant doesn't really exist. But yeah, I think it's great. And I think it features a lot of Chicago that a lot of movies don't, which is downtown and Wrigley Field, like a lot of like sort of like touristy. They go to Sears Tower, which is now Willis Tower.
Art Institute.
So a lot of kind of like touristy things, but some of the suburbs are really beautiful too. And they really, like Cameron lives in that like Mies van der Rohe home in the woods. That's like beautiful, where this dad lives with the Ferrari collection and stuff. Mm-hmm. And that's often overlooked, like the Frank Lloyd Wright sort of, and different sort of architecture, like the suburban architecture. A lot of the homes and stuff around the area is quite beautiful. So obviously this movie put John Hughes. I think this is kind of catapulting John Hughes. I think Breakfast Club was certainly a huge hit, but this movie was like more broad in reach, if you will. Mm-hmm. I think Breakfast Club was a little like the tone of that. It's a little more somber in some ways. A little more like
it's a little more intimate,
teeny than
And
Matthew Broderick is like his.
This is his
introduction to the world.
His introduction to the world. Still, his probably. I mean, if you had to pick his number one role, it would probably be this. A couple things about Ferris Bueller that I love. I have a quote pulled up here from John Hughes, just to kind of echo what you were saying. He goes, "Chicago is what I am. A lot of Ferris is sort of my love letter to the city. And the more people who get upset with the fact that I film here, the more I'll make sure that's exactly where I film. It's funny. Nobody ever says anything to Woody Allen about always filming in New York. America has this great reverence for New York. I look at it as this decaying horror pit. So let the people in Chicago enjoy Ferris Bueller."
That's great.
So yeah, great film. You got great, three great actors as the leads who have really good chemistry of Alan Ruck, who's Cam, and then Mia Sara. Yeah. Nice little role from Jennifer Grey. Yeah. Little side tangent there. I always thought she was really cute, and then she fixed her nose, and she's still a pretty woman, but I just wish she would have left her nose the way it was. It was very like cute and unique, and it made her who she was. But
yeah, I agree.
Someone did put baby in the corner, and it was a doctor.
Did you know that too? The parents of Ferris Bueller are actually married in real life.
Interesting.
Yeah, they were at the time as well, I believe.
And then you have a little cameo by Charlie Sheen in the I forget if it's the principal's office. No, it's a police station.
Yeah, police station. Yeah.
Jeffrey Jones, who we love from Howard the Duck, as the dean, and then Edie McClurg, obviously is always great.
The fact that one of the best scenes is when he totally like thinks he's got Ferris.
Oh yeah.
And he's like, just roll our old bones on over here. And he was like, that's like one of my favorite parts. It's so funny because he's like, you kind of feel bad for the guy because he's a principal and he's like obviously obsessed with this kid not attending school, and he's totally right. But he's Ferris is one step ahead of him, which I think
that's a funny thing. I wonder if when people get older, when they're not in high school or like in college, if they then go to the dean's point of view and you're like, man, this kid is just being a dick. Like, just come to school.
Probably.
It's fun though. I mean, I'm really curious too about how many teachers have made the bad, Ben Stein, Bueller joke in their own classroom. Probably a ton, right? Bueller. And they do it with everyone's names. Smith. And then last little thing, Tak Fujimoto was the DP on this.
Shot Silence of the Lambs.
Yeah, one of your favorites. But yeah, no, I totally agree. Definitely should be on the list.
And I think too, just going to John Hughes real quick, I think what's nice about his movies is the crux of his the meat of his movies take place in the 80s. But it's not like it's one of those movies you can watch a lot and you don't feel like it doesn't feel like the 80s in the terms of like it's about the 80s. You know what I mean? Like it I think that almost all his movies, they're definitely 80s movies, but there's like a theme that's timeless, and right,
it's not like time stamped.
Yeah,
it
doesn't feel like what's that movie where the girl goes to the high school undercover?
Just the Guys,
just
one of the guys. I mean, sorry,
like that movie kind of feels ham-handed in a way of the era,
right?
But this like Ferris Bueller you can watch all the time, and not to mention the two guys that take the car. That's a pretty good scene too.
Oh, the valets or parking garage guys.
We'll take real good care of it.
One other thing I was going to say, the parade that, a little personal thing, the parade that Ferris sings Wayne Newton and the Beatles in is locally what is called the Von Steuben Day Parade. And it's a German-themed parade.
I always wondered that, yeah.
Yeah, and so it celebrates Baron Friedrich von Steuben, and it's like a German-American type parade. But on a personal note, every year in band in high school, and then I would sometimes come back after to march in it. We always marched in the Von Steuben Day Parade, and it was just one of the most fun.
They still do it?
Yeah, they still do it. It was just one of the most fun events that we did because it was in the summer. It was hot out. We got to like go into the city, and we got to go by ourselves, like walking around to the little shops and get sausages or whatever. But we were always just like sweating like crazy on the bus, and we had to change on the bus.
Right.
And we used to wear full uniforms, then we changed to polos just because, we were all like sweating up a storm. But one little story about that, we were all walking around and we used to sing Queen's Bohemian Rhapsody like as loud as we could in the street, as band geeks would do. And after we had marched in the parade, which we were already tired, and at that time I think I was playing the quads, which is the four drums that the percussion section carries are really heavy, and I was kind of spent already. And we went to 7-Eleven to get a big gulp, and I got like a huge gulp of soda. And I drank half of it, and me and like three other guys under a tent passed out for like an hour. And then we woke up and realized where we were.
And Ferris Bueller took your hand and you got onto the float.
I'm actually in the movie. Even though it's 1986, a year after I was born, I was a teenager in that movie on the float. Because I went back in time with the DeLorean from Wormhole Coffee. Circled back. Oh, look at that. I'm on my game. It's this iced coffee that we just downed.
So what do you got for the...
What do I got?
Conversation.
I'm going to say something about Chicago as a segue. When I was walking back from lunch today, I had headphones in and I was listening to another podcast. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't really hear a lot of noises because it was quite loud. And I got a free shake from Emburger because I just said, I'm curious what your shakes taste like. And she's like, here's a key lime pie shake. I was like, okay. Mm. So I had it.
Wow.
Little phlegmy. And I'm walking down the street. And I'm just kind of walking, listening to the podcast. I can't really hear anything. And I do this to clear my throat. I go, like that. And so I like that. And on accident, I did it right next to a woman, and she jumped. And I didn't realize how loud I was, but it was loud. It was probably louder than what you heard.
I like how that has nothing to do with Chicago.
Well, it was in Chicago.
Because you live here.
And actually, it's based on a movie I'm going to talk about. No, I'm just kidding. All right, so the first one I'm going to put on, you already got Ferris Bueller.
Are we you throwing in the mix, or are you going to give some... is this an appetizer?
I'll give you an appetizer.
Okay.
I'll give you an appetizer. I am going...
By the way, I've gotten some real flack about saying in the mix, and I have not been able to figure out something that works better for our... I was trying to think of a film-related term that was similar, like...
Who's giving you flack?
I don't want to say.
Oh, okay. Why do they say in the mix is bad?
I don't know, because he thinks it's lame. But if anyone can think of something better, reach out to us.
we can say like on the board.
On the board, yeah, on the board's good. Well, yeah, because I want to do something like a edit thing, like in the timeline. But it's like no one's gonna care about that. Yeah. But anyway, we'll say on the board. I think on the board is more sports related. It seems cooler.
Yeah, we could put on the board, or
yeah.
I'm still gonna say I'm gonna put this. This is just honorable mention. So
okay, appetizer.
First one I'm going to do is a film that's based on David Mamet's Sexual Perversity in Chicago, famous play. But the film from 1986 as well, that's why I thought of it, is called About Last Night.
Ooh.
It is an Edward Zwick film. It stars Rob Lowe and Demi Moore. They're Chicago yuppies who are in a relationship, and then you have John Belushi and I'm sorry, not John Belushi, James Belushi and Elizabeth Perkins in it. So
Jim Belushi, right?
Jim Belushi.
Does it go by either one?
No, you're right. Yeah, Jim. Sorry, I don't know why I said John. But yeah, so I just wanted to put that one in there. It's just kind of a fun 80s movie. If you haven't seen it, it is very Chicago. They're in the Gold Coast. They're at this bar called Mother's, which is still in Chicago. You can go to. And there's like a New Year's Eve scene, which is my birthday. So that's always fun. Another one to...
New Year's Day is your birthday.
What did I say? Eve?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it is New Year's Day, but when midnight hits is technically my birthday. So, yeah, you're right.
You don't want listeners sending you gifts the day before.
Right. No, my birthday is New Year's Day, but we hang out on New Year's Eve, and when midnight strikes, I was born midnight in like 10 seconds. So then it's my birthday.
Jeez, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, so first baby, 1985.
Edward Zwick of Last Samurai fame?
Edward Zwick of Last Samurai fame. That is correct. And
it's kind of a crazy movie to think about this movie.
Glory.
Versus like the kind of epics that he's
Legends of the Fall.
Right.
It's he has actually kind of
and he's from Chicago.
He is from
Look
Chicago.
At that. That's cool. I didn't know that.
He went to New Trier, if you're from the area. That was a big high school that...
people hate you, apparently, if you're from New Trier. So
yeah, there's a lot of famous people, actually, that went to New Trier. I believe it's in Winnetka. It is in Winnetka. Let's see here. New Trier. Oh, they have their own Wikipedia page. That's how many people have gone to New Trier. Wow. Anne Margaret, Adam Baldwin, Beck Bennett, who is currently on Saturday Night Live.
Of the Baldwin brothers?
No. Adam Baldwin is in Chuck, and he's in another movie I'm actually going to talk about as an honorable mention, which I'll get to next just because we're talking about it. Bruce Dern.
Wow.
Virginia Madsen.
Rock Hudson.
Cool. Yep. Mark Romanek. Michael Shannon. Lily Taylor.
Mark Romanek is my favorite music video director of all time. Let's not pass over that.
Rainn Wilson. No, I know it is, yeah. That one's a fun one. If you kind of like relationship movies, it's just kind of a classic Chicago one. Speaking now of Adam Baldwin, I was going to bring him into this. The next one I was going to talk about is My Bodyguard as an honorable mention. That one you have Matt Dillon, who stars as a bully who is who's bullying the main character, who is Chris Makepeace, and Adam Baldwin plays this I guess muscular outcast kind of kid who protects the main character and is his bodyguard. But that is a Chicago movie as well.
Oh, that's cool. I never heard of that movie.
Yeah, that's kind of a fun one. You should check that one out.
Jennifer Beals, uncredited. Look at that.
Ah, look at that. Oh, and that's right. Martin Mull is his dad, is the main guy's dad.
Joan Cusack.
Who's always great. So yeah, we got About Last Night. We got My Bodyguard. And one last honorable mention, because all these ones are kind of my heavy hitters, is While You Were Sleeping with Sandra Bullock and Bill Pullman. Have you ever seen that movie?
I have.
So that one's always a fun one. I'm sure everyone listening has has heard of it. But the reason I kind of like this one for a couple different reasons is the director, just like Ed Zwick with About Last Night, was out of form for this movie. So the director is John Turteltaub, and if you're familiar with his work, you would know that he did Cool Runnings, he did National Treasure 1 and 2, he did Sorcerer's Apprentice, and I want to say he did Con Air too. I could be wrong about Con Air though. That doesn't sound right. No. But anyway, John Turteltaub, just kind of like epic action type movies. Oh no, Simon West. That's right, the British guy. So yeah, While You Were Sleeping, I just like that one. I got a chance to direct a play here in Chicago called Once Upon a Rom-Com, the Bill Pullman story. And it starred my friend Phil, and it was about Bill Pullman being upset that he was always put aside for a woman to pick the lead man. So he was always like the guy who never gets picked in the end. And so he's sort of depressed. His fairy godfather, who is Jeff Goldblum, comes to help him out to meet women. And, in the end, he triumphs. But we kind of had references to this film in it. But, if you don't know the story, Sandra Bullock saves the life of this guy, and she falls in love with him. And, Peter Gallagher gets pissed and all that stuff. Peter Boyle's in it. So, yeah, I guess that'll be my next honorable mention. Now it's time to add one into the mix. While You Were Sleeping. That's the horror movie version.
While You Were Sleeping happens to be your favorite adult series too. So,
wait. Okay, sorry, I had to think about it for a second. Give me your best Bill Pullman impression without having any prior practice to this.
Bill Pullman.
Yeah.
We're going to live on. We're going to survive. Today.
Is that President Reagan? Today, we're gonna fight the aliens.
He's like, we're gonna live on. We're gonna survive. Like, he's not giving, like, he can't give his full breath or something.
Now you sound like you're taking a crap as Bill Pullman. we're gonna live. We're gonna survive.
Today we celebrate our Independence Day.
Oh, I hit my head. Okay.
Now you sound like Steven Seagal.
Today, that would be a much better movie.
Celebrate our Independence
Sandra
Day.
Bullock saves Stephen Skull's life. So, I know you're working at the Chicago Transit Authority.
Where did I get this goatee from?
I don't have a token, but I'll give you a token of appreciation.
You want to break someone's arm?
Oh, speaking of Steven Seagal, we didn't even put Above the Law. That's a Chicago one, right? Or Out for Justice?
Out for Justice.
I forget if it's Above the Law or Out for Justice.
Out for Justice. Well, Marked for Death is supposedly Chicago, but they definitely shot that in L.A.
That one's definitely not that.
Above the Law. No. That one is...
Sergeant Nico Toscani.
Oh, right.
The native of Palermo. I like how they make
Is Out for Justice the one? Take It to the Bank? Right.
No. That's Hard to Kill. That's my favorite. Hard to Kill is, hey, Senator, I'm going to take you to the bank.
Right.
The blood bank.
The blood bank.
Let's see what Out for Justice is. So, I mean, we already forgot about this one. So, Above the Law, Seagal, man. Oh, yeah, no. Out for Justice is NYPD.
Okay.
So, yeah, Steven Seagal, Out for Justice, another honorable mention.
Good appetizer.
That is a good appetizer. Anytime you have a greased out ponytail and a guy who talks really low, it's going to be a good appetizer.
Talks just above a whisper.
Just above a whisper. He's always talking like almost if you would imagine toothpaste coming out of a toothpaste. What do you call that?
A toothpaste.
No, not like the actual toothpaste, but
container,
whatever.
Yeah.
So just imagine a toothpaste container.
A tube.
Right.
Yeah,
thank you. Just imagine a toothpaste tube, and the toothpaste is having trouble coming out because there's not a big enough hole, and that's the equivalent of him talking. So it's kind of like, my name is Steven Seagal. Instead, if it was an open hole, it would be, hi, my name is Steven. You know what I mean? There's an analogy for you. Oh my God.
I'm just picturing Steven Seagal as like a rolled up tube that you have to like roll up the end so you can get the last bit out.
I mean, if that is the analogy we're going for, then his tube is almost run out with the performances he's been given lately. So my first actual submission.
All right, let's get to it.
On the board, in the mix, whatever, what have you. Write in another version for us to talk about because I don't want to have to come up with another thing. So is going to be.
You're going to mention the band Chicago now.
Yes, yeah. So the first movie I'm going to put into the mix is by Steve James. It is Hoop Dreams, the documentary. I think it's probably going to be the only documentary we put in here.
Not to be confused with Poop Dreams.
body humor. Oh man, Poop Dreams.
That is an actual adult film.
Is that no? Is that?
I've seen the. I haven't seen it, but I've seen the cover.
Well, I know Hoop Dreams originally was intended to be a 30-minute short film for the public broadcasting service, PBS, but was Poop Dreams on the Poop broadcasting system. Sorry. Oh, that's so stupid.
All right, enough.
Okay, so yeah, Hoop Dreams, if you haven't seen it, it's one of the best documentaries of all time. It is just really... I don't even know the best word to say. It's really captivating because it's an intimate story. You're following these two guys, William Gates and Arthur Agee, I forget how you pronounce his name, but so they're recruited by a scout from St. Joseph High School in Westchester, which is right near my neighborhood. And St. Joe's is just known for having a great basketball program. That's where Isaiah Thomas went. And Agee and Gates are both from poor neighborhoods in Chicago, because Chicago is very segregated, and there's some poor neighborhoods, and some schools will bus kids in, whether they have a sports scholarship or they want to go to a better school. They have to travel a long way to get a good education, which is, unfortunate and a subject for another day to talk about and how bad it is. But both of them take these super long commutes to class. You find out, their hopes, their dreams, why they want to help their family. It's very dramatic when it gets into the basketball scenes. I mean, these guys are great players and they're great guys. And I don't want to give anything away. It's a great documentary. It really showcases a different side of Chicago, not sort of the glossy, Hollywood version of Chicago. I mean, these are, real families, real kids trying to make it, trying to follow their dreams and realize their dreams. But I was nominated for an Academy Award, and it wasn't... It had good reviews from critics and actually made a decent amount of money. And Steve James has gone on to do some other things. He was the director of that, and he did some narrative work as well, which was pretty good. But I still feel like Hoop Dreams is probably the best thing he's done.
Yeah, I haven't seen this movie in a long time, and I would, when I saw it, this was like in film school. Yeah, like you said, it's very captivating, and it doesn't seem like a movie you would be, especially if you're not like a sports guy or a sports person, that you would be, wanting to see. But the story of those two guys is quite captivating, and like you said, I think this is a good a good depiction of Chicago. In terms of the sort of real version or the gritty side of people in their lives here in Chicago. So I think it's a great addition. Yeah, so it's a little bit different. I know it's a documentary, but I just wanted to put it in there as something in the mix. So what do you have? And I'd also say that as far as documentaries go, I mean, this is for me in the top 10 of. If you had to name your top 10 documentaries. Yeah, I think it would have to be. I could name a few off the top of my head, but it would definitely be in the top 10 for sure. Yeah. Well, let me throw a few appetizers in. Okay. All right. Now these might be bagel bites compared to your, So currently in the Tapas right now, we have Hoop Dreams and we have Ferris Bueller. Yeah. Okay. On the board. On the board. Yeah. On the board in the Tapas, on the line. So okay. So I'll throw a couple movies, just a couple movies I'll mention real quick. Okay. That are outside of the putting on the board, I should say. Adventures in Babysitting, directed by Chris Columbus. Oh, man, I forgot to put that one on my list. I might have to put that in the mix. I love that movie so much. I love this movie. I've actually watched it recently, and when I was a kid, this movie was, again, another movie we watched a million times. I think because we had HBO and we would record it on, we'd have blank tapes, we'd record all these movies. Right. But directed by Chris Columbus. Right. Both had a crush on Elizabeth Shue. Yeah, she's super cute in this movie. And I would say this is John Hughesian, but not in sort of theme, but tone not so much. It's a lot more goofy, I feel than John Hughes, where they get kind of serious. And I would say, to what I was saying earlier, John Hughes films usually are timeless, they're 80s in Chicago, but they have a timeless quality. This is definitely more of an 80s movie to me. It feels a little more in that time period. And I would say the whole climbing the, what is that building? The Prudential building? I'm not sure what that building's called.
Oh, in the movie?
Yeah.
I forget. I forget which one they.
Yeah, it's the one with the slanted top like a pin. It's one of my favorite parts of the movie and something I remember very vividly. So I don't know if you have anything to say about that, but
no, I love Adventures in Babysitting. I believe it's the Crane Communications building that you're talking about. I love they have a great Drew Struzan poster, famous artists, Indiana Jones, Star Wars, things like that. The writer David Simpkins actually went to University of Iowa, where I went, so that's kind of a cool little fact. Any theater lovers out there like myself, Anthony Rapp is in the film, and Anthony Rapp from Rent. He was a younger guy in that movie, but he played Mark Cohen in Rent, if you're familiar with him. No, I love this movie. I used to think it was so funny that they were like looking at Playboy. They went to that like blues club, and then you have that really cool cameo by Vincent D'Onofrio as Thor.
All right,
he's probably the most jacked I would think that he's ever been. Right? I guess his name is Dawson, but I mean the kids think he's Thor. But
yeah.
But no, this was a great one. There's a song in it right now that I can't think of, and Then He Kissed Me. There it is.
Oh yeah.
I love,
Ding 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 ding
ding ding. Is how long we could do this before people turn it off. So yeah, I love the opening of the movie with that song because that's when I hear that song, this is the movie I think of.
And doesn't the guy? Oh yeah, the asshole boyfriend is played by what's his name? That's in Get Out, right?
Bradley Whitford.
Yeah, Bradley Whitford. Yeah, thank you.
But yeah, no, it's funny that this is an honorable mention because it's a great movie, but maybe for a top 5 list of movies on babysitting.
Can I give you?
Yeah, like Don't Tell the Mom the Babysitter's Dead. We could do a whole episode on that.
Babysitter's Club.
Review the show or write in on Twitter. We need to do a babysitting episode.
Yeah. We can I throw in 2 more?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so.
Hopefully we're going to talk about movies that you love, and if we don't, please mention it to us on social media.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of Chicago movies, so this is why that's why it's hard to kind of like narrow down to 5, and there's some appetizers that we get to talk about. So I will throw in Candyman as a notable movie, starring Virginia Madsen and Tony Todd.
Right, Tony
Directed
Todd,
by
horror staple. That's correct.
I like this movie a lot. Again, I didn't get into horror movies until really college when I met my wife, and this is when when I was catching up on like the better movies. There's a bunch of sequels, but the first one is what I'm talking about, and it takes place in Cabrini Green, like you said. And I don't know if you said that at all.
I didn't. I was going to, but I don't know how you read my mind. A little freaked out.
But yeah, it's the log line is. A murderous soul with a hook for a hand is accidentally summoned to reality by a skeptic grad student researching the monster's myth. That's Virginia Madsen. And I just like the way this movie is shot. And it's got like it's not like a typical horror movie that is kind of like set the camera up and let's go. Like it has like a unique visual style to it. I don't know how to like describe it or put my finger on it, but
it does.
It's also scored by Philip Glass, so his music, which is a very like repetitive kind of sort of what's like I don't want to say eerie tone, but has like
minimal.
Very minimal and
melodic,
disturbing kind of tone.
Yeah,
it really, really adds to this movie. So I think it's worth mentioning. It's definitely an interesting take on a Chicago movie. So
no, I think so. That's a good one.
Oh shit. There's a movie that I'm just going to throw it out real quick because I just thought about it, and if I don't say it, I'll forget.
Okay.
Judgment Night with Jeremy Piven and Cuba Gooding Jr. Remember the bunch of friends they go out on the town, or they go to the fight or something, and they.
Oh wow! I forgot about
and
this
then
one.
Like their RV breaks down.
Emilio
like on the west side or something.
Oh, I totally forgot about this movie. That's right.
And Emilio Estevez, right?
Yes, that is right.
Estevez and
wow.
And who's the bad guy?
It says Emilio's Cuba Gooding, Stephen Dorff. Let me see.
Dennis Leary. Yeah, that's right. He's the one that's after them. It's a very scary take on Chicago. It's like one of those things where you wouldn't want to be caught where those guys are. I just want to mention that real quick. And then Another movie I think it's worth mentioning, but maybe not putting in the mix or on the board is Rookie of the Year.
Henry Rowan Gardner.
1993. This movie, as a kid, I love this movie. Like I watched it recently, and I didn't enjoy it as much. But I'm not a kid anymore, so that might have a lot to do.
Still
with
a big Cubs fan, though.
Yeah. As a Cubs fan, it's an interesting movie. Almost anytime you go to the Cubs game, you'll see some of the Rowan Gardner jersey on. But essentially, Thomas Ian Nichols plays a Cubs fan who breaks his arm. Him and his friends go to a game. The Cubs are like in the dumps, as they always have been until recently. And he get a foul ball or a home run or something, and he has to throw it back because in Wrigley, when an opposite team hits a home run, you throw it back. And he throws like a rocket because he has like some kind of tightly wound arm because of his injury.
A nice rubber band sound effect. Like,
yeah. So then they like basically bring him onto the Cubs, and he's like their ace pitcher. I think Gary Busey's in the movie.
He's their head pitcher.
Head pitcher. Okay.
Yeah, and sort of like his new father figure.
But it's a great movie. If you're a Cubs fan, it's awesome because it's just like, it's a Cubs movie. It's not like a fake team or anything. A lot of great Wrigley Field stuff. And it's directed by Daniel Stern, which I was surprised because I know he's in the movie, but I didn't realize he directed anything.
No, I actually was very surprised that he directed it too. I was looking this one up today, and I definitely love him for his performances in movies. But yeah, I didn't know that he directed it, which I thought was kind of cool. So. Great classic like Cubs movie. You have some fun moments with him as the pitching coach. He actually, if you ever follow him on Facebook, he did some videos when the Cubs were on their way to winning the World Series of like pump up videos.
Oh, really?
Of this pitching coach like in his underwear, like eating sesame seeds and stuff.
That's hilarious.
So that was really funny.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, no, it's great. Definitely worth a watch. And if you're going to do a movie night, pair this Rookie of the Year with A Kid in King Arthur's Court, also starring Thomas Ian Nicholas and a young Daniel Craig and Kate Winslet. But Rookie of the Year actually has Amy Morton, who's one of Chicago's best actresses. She's a theater actress here. And she's in some TV shows now too, but she's from Oak Park and just a kind of a famous Chicago
Steppenwolf lady.
Yes, local actress. So
that's cool. Yeah, like I said, I don't want to put it in the board, but it's worth mentioning. It's definitely a Chicago movie. So,
what's your next official submission?
So I'll do an official submission
to our movie Royal Rumble.
Man, I hate to throw in aces, but
I hope you're not going to throw in my ace because I'm going to be pissed.
This might not be your ace, but it's one of my aces, and that is a movie called Ordinary People. Directed by Robert Redford. This movie came out in 1980. It won the Best Picture Oscar as well. Stars Donald Sutherland, Mary Tyler Moore, and Judd Hirsch as he's a young man in the movie. And essentially the movie is an affluent family from like basically the
North Side?
the Winnetka area.
The Winnetka?
Yeah, the well-to-do area.
Lake Forest, I think.
Yes, exactly. It's very like a cycle. It's a quiet movie, but it's like the performances are great. But basically, there's Donald Sutherland and Mary Tyler Moore have an older son who dies in a boating accident, and Judd Hirsch, the kid who's like living with this, like he has a lot of guilt about it, and he feels like the other son, like somehow he's almost like Stand By Me, where like John Cusack, like the family like seemed like he was the special son, but he like died, and now the other son has to deal with the brunt of what that is. So this is in that kind of in that vein.
It's a very heavy movie.
It's a heavy movie. I first watched it because I was reading an article with Paul Thomas Anderson, one of my favorite directors, and he had mentioned a lot of Magnolia was based on, of course, Robert Altman movies, but Ordinary People was a big inspiration for him. And so I was like, I got to watch this movie. And then I was interesting to know that Robert Redford, this was his like directorial debut, and
crazy for a directorial debut, right?
Yeah, and to win a
Academy Award
is pretty. Especially this kind of movie, because if you watch this movie, it's not like Academy Award-y, especially for movies that were made in the 80s. So this is 81, when it won the award. It's like I said, more of a quiet performance movie. It's worth the watch. It's really, really good. So
No, yeah, I'm not going to add too much to that, just to keep things moving along. But Timothy Hutton gives a really great performance, and Mary Tyler Moore, who you don't get to see too often in film, because she's
Timothy Hutton.
Timothy Hutton's really good in this. Adam Baldwin, full circle. We were talking about My Bodyguard. He's in this movie, and as far as Timothy Hutton's concerned, my favorite performance of his of all time, if you have a chance to check it out, which maybe it'll be on another episode, is called Beautiful Girls. It's just kind of a, it's not really an indie, but it's a lower budget film with just an awesome cast. I know I'm going on a tangent here, but it's from '96. It's got like Matt Dillon, Lauren Holly, Uma Thurman, Rosie O'Donnell, Natalie Portman as a younger actress, Mira Sorvino, Michael Rappaport. Great movie though. And Judd Hirsch is really good in this. Anytime I see Judd Hirsch though, I know he's done so many things like Taxi and everything. But the only thing I can think of is him in Independence Day.
Oh yeah,
when the aliens are about to come, and the president's guy who just got fired. I forget what his job was, like Secretary of State or something.
Yeah.
He gets fired, and Judd Hirsch is starting a prayer circle, and the guy comes over and he goes, "But I'm not Jewish," and he goes, "Nobody's perfect." I think that's what he says.
Yeah.
No, great addition.
I think you're right.
All right, so you just added.
Yes.
Ordinary People, interesting choice.
Ordinary
here.
People, check it out.
You know what? I'm going to add one of my aces, probably my ace. Actually, it's my favorite one of these. In college, there was a movie that would come on TV in the dorm rooms, and anytime it was on, I would finish it, and that was often because it was always on in the afternoon. I would walk down to the local Papa John's or Pita Pit, and I would get some food, come back, enjoy the film. It's one of my favorite movies. It's definitely on my top 5 movies to finish anytime that it's on TV list, if that was a list. And yeah, it's just one of my favorite movies of all time.
That and Babe Pig in the City.
Pig. Yeah, exactly. That'll do. It's one of my favorite things. I feel like I know Dr. Richard Kimball. I understand why he was mad that the samples were switched of Provasic or RDU 90. But I'm going to have to put The Fugitive officially into the mix, which I believe deserves to be in the top 5, regardless of your opinion. Love this film, written by David Twohy, who'd later go on to Chronicles of Riddick fame. Now, see, The Fugitive is based on a TV series, and from the 60s. Yeah, so it's based on a 60s TV series. Created by Roy Huggins, and Andrew Davis is the guy who directed the feature film. And a little fun fact about The Fugitive: it's the first film based on a television series to be nominated for Best Picture. Now, some people are going to go, "Oh, you're incorrect."
You mean Charlie's Angels wasn't?
No, yeah, exactly. So some people are going to say Marty, but Marty was a television movie. And some people are going to say Traffic, which was a mini series from England. But this is the only film based on a television series, an episodic television series, to get nominated for an Oscar. But let's go down the list.
Was it a television series in name only, or was it like the same?
No. I mean, it was very similar. Okay. It was about a guy who was sentenced to death and did same name too, Dr. Richard Kimball, and he didn't do it. So
interesting.
Yeah. So let's go down the line here. So Fun fact. So you have a great cast. You have Oscar winner Tommy Lee Jones.
Harry Ford.
Yeah, you have Harry Ford, our friend, taking time away from flying to come on the podcast later.
Thank you.
Tommy Lee Jones. You got Joe Pantoliano as a U.S. Marshal. You have some local Chicago people that are great. But yeah, you know the story. I would hope you would. If not, please go and watch this movie. Basically, Harrison Ford is this very respected surgeon. A dude breaks into his house, kills his wife, and Harrison Ford gets framed for it. And no one believes him because he said it was a man with one arm. It was a one-armed man. Everyone thinks he's nuts. But he basically escapes, goes on the lam as a fugitive, and tries to prove his innocence by basically getting evidence of why he thinks this happened. So this movie is fast. Has a great pace, great action, nice train stunt that was filmed for real. A real train hit a bus. Harrison Ford obviously wasn't there. They matted that in later, but it's a great sequence there when the train derails. And, it's got one of the best line responses, I think, in film history. Definitely in the top, where Harrison Ford is caught in the sewers.
Great scene.
And he pulls up the gun to Tommy Lee Jones after it washes towards him, and he goes, "I didn't kill my wife." That was actually a pretty good impression.
That was pretty good.
Thank you. Yeah, so he goes, "I didn't kill my wife," and Tommy Lee Jones with his hands up, goes, "I don't care." So great line read there.
Yeah.
And just that whole scene, my friends and I, we always go, "You switch the samples."
I like how that's the lines that you say, but not like, we always said, my friends and I were like, we want to search every outhouse, in-house, whorehouse, chicken house, or whatever. Like,
oh, right.
Yeah, you're right. This is a great movie. It's funny. I was thinking about this movie, and I was like, I think Neal's going to pick this movie, so I'm going to leave it to Neal. But yeah, it's still great. Like now, like you watch it now, and it's like you said, very thrilling, for lack of a better term. And yeah, I mean, you're rooting for that guy so much in that movie. And yeah, Chicago movie. He kind of leaves Chicago for a second and then comes back basically because he has to.
Right, they did film some of
his
this
innocence.
in North Carolina.
Yeah.
So it's not fully filmed in Chicago, but you have a very Chicago sequence with the St. Patrick's Day parade where he kind of gets lost in the thick of it. You have the ending is in Chicago in the hotels when he confronts Devlin McGregor and his his confidant, I suppose. I don't want to give too many spoilers away, but Dr. Charles Nichols, I should say. Come on, Richard. Richard, I'm trying to give a speech here, Richard. What are you talking about, Provasic, Richard?
What's cool about if you watch the end of this movie too, some of the newscasters that are still on like Chicago TV now are at the end of that movie.
Lester Holt's in it. Which I think he's national though now, right?
Well, yeah, he's on NBC, and
okay.
he does the nightly news. But
yeah,
but I guess when he was a Chicago guy, he has a sweet stash in it.
Yeah,
this is a great movie.
Yeah,
good pick.
Love this movie. Thank you.
Yeah,
thank you. All right, let's keep moving here. I realize this episode is it's kind of long, but we'll get there. It's fine. A lot of tangents. It's about Chicago. It's about our city. So,
all right. So I'm not going to beat around the bush anymore. My next pick to go on the board is The Blues Brothers.
Oh,
1980.
Yeah, I mean, this is
directed by John Landis, obviously starring John Belushi and Dan Aykroyd.
Yeah, we call him Dan Ack.
Yeah, around here we call him Dan Ackey.
You could probably just shorten it to Boosh, right? Like, what up, Boosh?
But yeah, this movie is. I think a lot of people would say this is like quintessential Chicago because it's a musical film. I don't know if I call it a musical, but it's music.
It's infused with a lot of music.
It has musicality.
I mean, even Wikipedia calls it an American musical crime comedy film.
Yeah.
Which is that's like when a hipster talks about what bands they like, and it's like, oh, it's like new wave, pop, electro, classic, orchestral.
Grunge,
you know what I mean?
screamo.
So it's kind of funny. Continue.
Yeah. If you haven't seen Blues Brothers, it's a kind of an older movie. I would say you definitely got to check this out, even if not for the Chicago part, but just the comedy and
great cameos.
Great cameos. Steven Spieley is in it.
Yep. As my friends call him, Steven Spielberg, the Danish classic film.
Steve Spielberg.
Yeah, Steve Spielberg.
Ray Charles is in this movie.
Right.
A lot of blues musicians, but the irreverence of these two guys is the best part of this film, and I believe these characters are from Saturday Night Live originally.
They are, yes.
And they did
Isn't that the one they dance to, right?
Oh yeah. That one.
I think that's the one, right?
Yeah.
I could be way off.
But I like the little Nazi. I mean, I don't like Nazis, but
I'm going to tweet guys right now. Please tweet. Mark P. Smith loves Nazis.
But the whole Nazi thing, the standoff at Wrigley Field is Chicago very much. When I moved here, I realized there was a lot of was weird history with Skokie in the 70s. There was a march on Skokie, which is a pretty predominant Jewish community by
That's
Nazis.
Right. Yep.
Which made national news. I didn't know this until I moved here, and it's interesting. And I would like to think that's probably inspired from, or like that story inspired a little bit of this movie into this movie.
I would think so.
Carrie Fisher's in it.
Yeah, she plays the crazy ex-girlfriend, right? Or girlfriend.
Mm-hmm.
She has like that, or no, I guess they. No, I'm thinking of something else. They call her. She's labeled as mystery woman, but doesn't she like shoot a shotgun at them or something? No, I'm sorry. It's
Yeah.
it's his
Yeah.
ex-fiancée. I'm
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
And then she has like an M16. That's right.
But John Belushi, you know, he was gone way too soon. Obviously, this is this is definitely a standout movie for.
You'd have to go
those
with
two.
this and Animal House for John Belushi, right?
Yeah.
If you were to pick like two movies.
Two movies for sure.
Yeah.
But this is a great movie. I love especially the sequence, the hottie 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 oh. That's one of my favorite parts of that movie.
What's the most famous line? The sunglasses one. It's like we got. I should probably look it up so we don't screw it up.
We got 100-something miles to Chicago. We got a full tank of gas. It's dark out, and we're wearing sunglasses.
I think you were pretty close there.
There might be a cigarettes line in there.
Yeah. It's. I thought I had it here. Well, the other one here is we're on a mission from God.
Yeah, mission from God is definitely good.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's 106 miles to Chicago. We've got a full tank of gas, half a pack of cigarettes. It's dark, and we're wearing sunglasses.
Hit it.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a great movie, quintessential Chicago, and deserves to be on the board.
And if you're from,
in my opinion,
and if you're from Chicago or not, and you see like different sporting events, there's always people who have the same Blues Brothers like refurbished, or not refurbished, but like modded police car. That's like the big Blues Brothers thing. As anytime there's like a sporting event and it's on ESPN, they somehow manage to find the two dudes who are dressed as the Blues Brothers every time. Like without, it makes me think like people think that everyone here dresses like the Blues Brothers at all times.
Not to be confused with the O-line Chicago Bears. They nicknamed the Bruise Brothers.
The Bruise Brothers.
They had a poster. Do you remember that poster?
I don't. I didn't have pictures of muscular men on my wall. I had like Anna Kournikova and Spice Girls.
Sorry.
I will do an honorable mention to On the Line with Lance Bass and Joey Fatone. I don't believe it was actually filmed here. I think it was filmed in Toronto, but a part of it was filmed here. But I remember being so excited to see it because I was like, Lance Bass is going to like try to get the girl.
Yeah. He's such a ladies' man, that Lance Bass.
He is such a ladies' man. And I just remember I was like,
why did they just make
it
Toronto? That makes no sense.
You know what? I don't know why. The whole thing was that they like he met the girl of his dreams on the L. Which,
On the line.
On
Got
the
it.
line, right. Exactly.
Got it.
Apparently it's based on a short film, and and he also likes the Cubs. That's what made me think of it. And then Joey Fatone's in, and then there's a quick cameo of Justin and Chris Kirkpatrick.
Wait. Hold on. Read that quote from Roger Ebert about On the
Here we go.
Line.
Roger Ebert said, "An agonizingly creaky movie that laboriously plods through a plot so contrived that the only thing real about it is its length." Well, he's obviously not an NSYNC fan. I'll say that.
Oh, man.
But yeah, so it's bad, though.
I think we might have to redact this from the...
Yeah, it was shot in Toronto. It was shot a little bit in Chicago, but I just like the fact that it was an R-rated movie, which I can't imagine, but they made it PG so that NSYNC fans would go see it. Okay, so Wayne's World I was kind of going to talk about, but they don't shoot a lot in Illinois. I mean, I know it takes place in Aurora.
I had that conundrum too.
I was having a lot of trouble with that one because they technically are from Aurora, but there's not a lot of photography in Chicago. There's a little bit. Like the old, the famous, I don't even know what you'd call it, like Spear.
The Berwyn.
Yeah.
Is it Berwyn?
Yeah, it's Berwyn. Because I live right by there, and so I used to see it all the time. It's not there
cars on
anymore. Yeah.
The car kebab.
Car kebab. The car kebab. I should just do like a heavy Chicago accent in this episode just to like alienate anyone who hates this accent. Yeah, we're talking about Wayne's World here. So I guess...
yeah, it's Steven Kapersky from Cermak.
Hey, guys, we got a 411 on Cermak here. Guy's trying to order a corned beef sandwich. We're out of corned beef. Tell him roast beef only. Sorry. Wet dipped corn roast beef. No mozz. Okay. So my next...
I like how you're actually from Chicago, and that was a struggle for you.
Right, I know. Certain words come out with the Chicago accent, even though I kind of don't have one. But like, if you hear me say costume, instead of Halloween costume,
well,
I say costume.
My son is a Chicagoan. He says Batman,
sausage,
Batman,
sausage,
backpack.
No, that's Grant, who works here, one of our visual effects artists. He goes the bag.
He says bag.
I'm going to go to the grocery store and get a
weirdos from
bag.
Wisconsin say bag, yeah.
Okay. So my next official submission. I love this movie.
Is this going on the board?
This is going on the board.
Okay.
Great performance by Jack Black. Speaking of our own podcast being about top 5 lists.
You're stealing it from me.
I am stealing, sorry. There's another one I know you're going to pick, so I figured we'll be okay. So this movie is all about top 5 lists. It's probably one of... I know John Cusack, we all love him when he played a teenager, and he was in all the 80s movies and whatnot, Better Off Dead, all that kind of stuff. Probably his best performance, I would think, as an adult.
I might go. I might go with you there. I think he's got a... First of all, what movie are you talking about?
Would it be great if I'm talking about 1408 with Samuel L. Jackson? No, I'm talking about High Fidelity.
Yeah, of course.
Yes, of course. The John Cusack film. Great film. Like I just said, a lot of top 5 lists. It's directed by Stephen Frears. It's a Nick Hornby novel, and it was supposed to be in London, but they moved it to Chicago, obviously because John Cusack is a big Chicago boy. But yeah, you got Jack Black, Lisa Bonet. You have his sister Joan Cusack, Sarah Gilbert, Lily Taylor. But it's basically like his life and how he compartmentalizes everything into top 5 lists, and he has like this long history of different women he's dated, and there's great banter of him working in the record store that he works in, which they filmed. It was in Wicker Park, right by Wormhole, full circle,
Milwaukee, and something. Can't remember there.
Yeah, it's right around there. But awesome soundtrack. If you're a music lover, this is definitely the movie for you. And I love it. He breaks the fourth wall, which is always fun, and also kind of like a Ferris Bueller thing too. Really like this one. It's got a nice performance by Catherine Zeta-Jones too. But yeah, if you've ever been in love,
and Tim Robbins too.
Oh man, that's my favorite part of the whole movie.
Like the ex-girlfriend's like new boyfriend or whatever.
Yes, he plays the weird. He basically plays the what's the word I'm looking for? It's a very.
He's like kind of a hippie.
Yeah,
he's like I can't guru kind of guy, right?
Yes. No. Okay. You're right. I can't think of. He plays Ian. His name's Ian. First of all, which they harp on that name being annoying.
Yeah.
He's not the epitome. He's the what's it called when you're trying to talk about something and it like represents everything but put into that thing. You know what I'm talking about? It's not a representation. It's like a. I
don't know what you're talking about.
Symbolize. Yeah, maybe symbolize. So basically, Ian to John Cusack in this movie he symbolizes everything that a guy who just got broken up with hates about whoever so it doesn't matter who the girl who broke up with you is going to date next. You're automatically hate him first of all, but they made him so unlikable and like, this guy's such a D-bag.
Right.
And so he symbolizes that. But my favorite part in this whole movie, spoiler alert, I'm kind of sorry about this, but if you haven't seen it, just kind of fast forward 15 seconds.
This is where he dies at the end, right?
Yeah, exactly. No, my favorite part of this whole movie is when they completely mind-fucked me and you think that he bashed Tim Robbins' face in with the telephone.
Oh, yeah.
Because he hated him. And then it goes back and you realize it was in his head.
Yeah.
That's probably the best use of it I've ever seen because I was tricked immediately.
Yeah.
I'm like, I
think almost every time I'm tricked.
I always forget that it's coming. But yeah, sorry. I really like this one a lot.
No, it's hilarious. I had this on my list too. So I can concur. And I think what's nice about this movie...
Do you Steve Kerr?
I Steve concur. What it captures really well is the bohemian version of Wicker Park from the 90s, 80s, and I guess 80s, 90s, where now it's much more fancy and more hipster yuppie kind of collective. Still a great place. I mean, it's like really cool neighborhood, but it's definitely like not the artist scene that it once was, and this movie captures that a lot, which I think you have to kind of have local knowledge and know that to make a film like that. And John Cusack, I agree with you. I think as an adult, this is one of his, if not best, definitely one of his top standout performances. I mean, this is a John Cusack heavy movie, and he carries this whole movie. And like you said, Jack Black has a great little bits in it. And
I read that the producers didn't want Jack Black in the movie, or they didn't think that he would be good for it. But
it's great comedy though.
No, it's really great. You have that really, really fun kind of random cameo by Bruce Springsteen, the boss. So that's kind of a fun little moment.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's good, and a great representation of Chicago. I think you guys
Probably
might like it.
Probably like the last. I guess records are popular again now, which is great. But at the time, it was kind of like it's probably like that sort of swan song of kind of music stores. You know what I mean? Like
It wasn't.
Which is it's great that we still have like Reckless Records. There's still a lot of great record stores here. So because of the vinyl craze, but yeah, when you watch that movie, there's a little bit of like, it's kind of sad that we don't like go to the record store like that anymore. You know.
Right.
At least I don't. I mean, I know people still do. But.
Shot by Seamus McGarvey, who's a pretty good DP. So, definitely on the board.
All right. Good pick. Let me see.
You're probably gonna go My Best Friend's Wedding, right?
Yeah, that's one of my favorites.
You're a big J-Rob fan.
J-Rob, I love. She's just so funny.
I'm an even bigger Dermot Mulroney fan.
I'm going to mention Running Scared again real quick.
Okay.
I love this movie. It's definitely a great Chicago movie. Definitely check it out.
Maybe we just put it like number 6 or 7, regardless of talking about it, because I know you love it so much.
We talked about it on Buddy Cops films, and I'm not going to belabor that anymore. But definitely check it out. Gregory Hines, Billy Crystal. It's a good movie. I'm going to throw another hot one in here,
Okay,
and that is
coming in hot.
The Untouchables.
Oh, The Untouchables
Came out in 1987.
Right.
Directed by Brian De Palma.
Brian De Palma.
I was going to shorten everything by one letter. Stars Kevin Costner, Robert De Niro, Sean Connery. This is all about...
This is a great movie.
If you haven't seen it, it's so worth a watch. It's epic in scale. This is, as far as an historical version of Chicago, this is probably the best one. This is all about Elliot Ness, who's played by Kevin Costner, who sets up basically like he's a federal agent who sets out to catch Al Capone in the whole Prohibition era.
Right. He's basically the most famous FBI agent who caught Al Capone.
Yeah. And eventually it was because of tax evasion or whatever.
Right. That's always now. See, that's a true historical Shyamalan twist.
Yeah.
This guy did all this bad stuff, and they get him on taxes.
Yeah.
Death and taxes, people. Hashtag
Sean
death
Connery
and taxes.
has that great line. You don't bring a knife to a gunfight, which is like
you don't bring a knife to a gunfight.
Good job, Sean Connery. De Niro plays Scarface. Al Capone in this movie, and he's
Scarface. What are you talking about? That's not Al Capone's nickname, is it?
Yeah.
Come on.
You didn't know that?
Come on.
You didn't know that? He has a big scar on his face. He got when he was like a young man.
Is that true?
Fight. Yeah. But yeah, he's menacing in this movie, and
especially with a baseball bat.
The it's a very like a lot of Brian De Palma movies, like Scarface, the other movie with Al Pacino. It's very violent and
written by David Mamet.
Untouchables,
yeah.
Nice fun fact there.
Yep.
But yeah, as far as like the Battleship Potemkin scene, the carriage going down the stairs and Union Station is such a great scene in the movie. And as far as like, if you're an editor like I am or a fan of editing, that is one of those like great scenes where it's like all about pacing and execution in terms of timing.
Yeah, you can't get much better than
drama.
that.
And if you haven't seen Battleship Potemkin, it's a film made by the Russians.
Sergei Eisenstein, if I'm correct. I'm going to Google that, but I think I'm right on the money.
And that was kind of the first usage of, either the first usage of wide usage of using the montage, and then they have a scene like that where there's a baby stroller going down the steps while there's other action happening, and they keep on cutting back to the stroller, kind of increasing the drama. And that's an homage to that in this movie. But to cap it off, I think, like I said, this is such an historically great vision of Chicago, and definitely worth putting on the board, worth the watch.
No, this is
great score too.
See, I didn't realize that his nickname was Scarface. I know him as Big Boy. Al Capone. No, I don't. But I just, I mean, it's on his Wikipedia.
You know him as Albert Capone.
I know him as Albert. So Untouchables won Sean Connery an Academy Award. He has a great performance in it. Kevin Costner is just, cool beans like he normally is. Like we say, he's got to be on our Everyman episode, our best of the best. It is scored by Definitely in my best of the best film composers of all time. Probably number 2 on that list, Ennio Morricone, famous Italian composer. And then, the locations are beautiful. The Potemkin homage happens in the Great Hall in Union Station. So if you ever travel to Chicago, or even if you're from here and you've never seen it, just go to Union Station. If you can't find the Great Hall, just ask to see it. And it's just really pretty. It's actually shot quite beautiful on film. They use some more wide-angle lenses and things to make it look bigger, but it's just a very classic-looking, almost Art Deco, I guess you would say, train station. So that's great. All the guys, Andy Garcia, Robert De Niro,
Young Garcia.
Jan Garcia. All of them are really good in this movie. Like I said, it was written by David Mamet. There's some Duke Ellington music in there, which you can't beat. Then you have some other great actors too, like Patricia Clarkson, who is a great character actress. But yeah, I mean, Elliot Ness, FBI, Al Capone. That's a pretty cool story.
And can I just say, with like you said with the Everyman episode, I know we're gonna have to do that because you keep talking about it.
I want to do it. I can name him right now. I don't need.
But Kevin Costner, I was watching actually Hidden Figures.
Oh right, he's great in that.
The other night, and I was just thinking to myself, what Kevin Costner does so well and what he's done well in his whole career, to me, is the effortless portrayal. Do you know?
No,
it's kind of like Meryl Streep. When you're watching Meryl Streep, sometimes she plays some characters that are a little kooky and overt, but for the most part, it's like almost like effort. Like it doesn't seem like he's even trying. Like he has like a ability to make you feel at ease as a viewer when you're watching it and make you like really believe it. And I think that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, you're totally right. He is very effortless. It never looks like he's acting or he's
exactly.
He's overdoing it on screen. I definitely would agree with that. 117. Okay. So what do we have on the board right now?
We have Untouchables.
Okay. We have Untouchables.
The Fugitive.
The Fugitive.
Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Okay.
The Blues Brothers.
Yep.
High Fidelity.
Okay.
Ordinary People.
Yep.
I think that might be it on the board.
Okay. Did we do an honorable mention to...
I know you want to put Jupiter Ascending. Let's go right to it.
Jupiter Ascending. I forgot, honorable mention, we didn't talk about Hardball with Keanu Reeves. Remember he's the baseball coach?
Oh, yeah.
I think is he a coach or is he like a convict? I think he's
a coach.
I haven't heard that, or I haven't seen that movie in forever. I think I saw it like once on video.
Not Hardball with Chris Matthews.
But that one, D.B. Sweeney, that's right. He's in that, and Diane Lane. It's based on the book Hardball: A Season in the Projects. And I knew he wasn't a convict, but he's a gambler. So
is your next movie going to be Wicker Park with...
I remember when that movie came out with Josh Hartnett and Diane Kruger, I believe. I rented that one thinking it was going to be like, oh, this is like Wicker Park, this neighborhood I want to check out like when I was younger, and the movie wasn't very good.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm going to put next. I put in my favorites. I'm between.
I've got two more.
You got two more? One of them is probably one I'm thinking of right now.
Okay.
Is it one that Conrad Hall shot?
Yeah.
Okay. So if you're going to go Conrad Hall, I'm going to go Ron Howard. I'm going to submit Backdraft by Ron Howard.
This is one of my picks.
It is?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Backdraft, possibly the best movie made in 1991 with a sex scene on top of a fire engine in Chicago. Great casts. One of our favorite guys also going to be on the Everyman episode, Kurt Russell. You got William Baldwin, Scott Glenn, Jennifer Jason Leigh, Rebecca De Mornay, Donald Sutherland, Robert De Niro. So crazy cast. I remember when I was at, I believe it was Universal, they had the Backdraft experience, which always freaked me out because it was like really hot in there and they'd have like really cool fire effects. My friends recently watched this one and they badmouthed it. I will admit I haven't seen it in, 5-10 years. I loved it. Maybe it doesn't hold up, but I don't know how it can't. I love Hans Zimmer, who did the score. I love Ron Howard. He's not always good, but he's a pretty safe bet. But yeah, Kurt Russell. How can you go wrong? And it's the Chicago Fire Department. And my dad was a fireman for a good period of time. So I always had an affinity for this movie because he liked it a lot, so I liked it a lot, and I always got into it. So.
I think if you're a fireman or if you grew up, I have a friend who loved this movie and he actually grew up to be a fireman. I think this movie kind of inspired him, and I think this is kind of like the like if you wanted to be an F-15 pilot, Top Gun was probably the movie that like
if you wanted to be
sparked your
a bouncer, you'd watch Roadhouse,
right? If you wanted to be a douchebag, you watch Fast and the Furious. But Backdraft, I think, is one of those films.
It's about family.
It's probably the quintessential like fire movie. I don't, Ronnie
is there
Howard,
another movie about fire that's?
There's that one with John Travolta and Ladder 49.
Oh,
or 15,
but I mean,
whatever it is.
there's probably no better fire movie than this, though.
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
What's great about this movie is the fire. They actually like make the fire kind of a character in the movie, almost like a villain.
Right.
Like
I mean, I heard he wanted script changes and
Yeah.
had his own trailer. Sorry.
the way they describe the fire in all these movies and the way De Niro investigates all these arsons, and just the way they explain the fickle nature of.
Sorry. I'm doing a De Niro face. I was just imagining him going like
trying to take a dump right here.
No, I was just thinking of De Niro. He doesn't say this in the movie, but I just love it. If he would be like, "Okay, guys, here Backdraft."
Wait, is that Pacino? That's more like Pacino.
I'm actually doing Pacino doing Scarface in Backdraft. She'll hear about Backdraft.
Okay. It's a fire.
Okay, it's a fire.
Check that door for heat.
Say hello to my little flame.
But I just one thing though. Like I would say, Ronnie Howard, as I call him, or sometimes I call him Ronald Howard. He's from that Lucas Spielberg school of directors, and you can tell because he can capture a lot of different types of films, and this is like like you said, he's not always he doesn't always hit it out of the park, but the ones he has are timeless and great. Apollo 13, personal favorite of mine. Willow, even Frost Nixon a couple years ago was really great. But this movie stands out, and it's a great Chicago movie. And yeah,
so I'm blanking a little bit on this, but I know one part of this that always affected me because I loved Kurt Russell as a kid. I still love Kurt Russell, and then my dad and I used to be like, "Oh man, that ending is so emotional." Doesn't Kurt Russell die? Spoiler, sorry.
Yes, I think so. I haven't seen it, like you said, in like 10 years.
I haven't either.
So I don't want to say that without.
I feel like he gets like impaled in the stomach, and he's like bleeding to death.
Yeah. Oh, Russie.
I can't remember. This is really, it's going to bum me out, but I'm pretty sure that he gets hit in the stomach and he's like bleeding to death and he dies in the back of the ambulance. Oh yeah. Here it is. I think this is it. That's so sad. Him and his brother, Billy Baldwin.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a shame.
William Baldwin is that way.
William?
Referred to him.
Well, yeah.
So, all right, so we got Backdraft on the board. That's a great pick.
I mean, I don't know what else we should put on the board. I was thinking...
Oh, okay, go ahead.
You have one more pick. I'm sorry. That was my pick, so go ahead.
No. I wasn't going to do this, but I definitely think it's worth... You tell me if it's worth putting in the discussion as far as being on the board or not. But one thing I'll mention, or one movie I'll mention real quickly, is as just a notable thing, is A League of Their Own.
Oh, I forgot about League of Their Own. Yep, I love that movie.
That's technically good. Like more of a Rockford movie,
right?
But that's a farther suburb.
I mean, they filmed at Wrigley Field.
Yep. It's very Chicago centric. If you haven't seen this movie, Tom Hanks is great in this movie. Obviously, Gina Davis is great, directed by Penny Marshall.
That's a great movie.
It's when the men go off to war and then the women form a professional baseball league. It's a great movie. It's based on a true story. Madonna's in it.
Rosie
O'Donnell. It's like a who's who of like the standout '90s stars.
I mean, how much better can you get than There's No Crying in Baseball?
Yeah, it's a great line.
Colleen and I were that for Halloween. I was Jimmy Dugan.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, and she was. Oh man, I'm gonna hear it about this one. I forget the name of the character.
But this is a great movie. It's worth watching. It's Chicago centric, I will say. It's not like necessarily like a Chicago love letter or anything like Ferris Bueller. But and then the one thing I do want to throw on the board, I think,
okay,
is another John Hughes movies, because it's hard to like not put this in there.
Evelyn, sorry. Yeah, I guess. I mean, I can see what you kind of have to. I mean, he is.
You know what I'm going to say?
I think I know what you're going to say.
Okay.
He is, I guess, the Woody Allen of Chicago. I guess you can go that far.
Yeah.
Not as I mean, he deals more with the teenage and
He's like
young adult
like
psyche.
Carl Sandburg was a poet. This is a filmmaker that has captured Chicago like no other filmmaker has. You know,
Right.
Lovingly so.
I would say Michael Bay captured Chicago quite well. Okay, sorry. Go ahead. What are you going to say?
Yeah, John Hughes didn't have any place in his movies for a jump off the Sears Tower, Willis Tower. The Breakfast Club, 1985. John Hughes, like we just said, stars Molly Ringwald, Emilio Estevez, Judd Nelson, and then Anthony Michael Hall. Obviously, he used Molly Ringwald, Anthony Michael Hall in 16 Candles and Pretty in Pink with Molly Ringwald. It's hard not to mention this movie, and I know we said Ferris Bueller's Day Off. I think Ferris Bueller's Day Off, in terms of Chicago movie, is maybe more Chicago-centric.
Right.
This movie is more of a suburb. This is more of a teen comedy. But I do think it's worth mentioning because it's such a epic film from as a teenager watching this movie, they're having the nerd and the jock and all those sort of personas that you claim to be in high school, and
You still see him in high school too.
Well, and these guys just obviously it's such a great film for high schoolers too, because you watch this movie and it's like these guys all understand that like they all have the same problems no matter where they're from. Like everyone's like human, and so I'm going to throw it on the board as my last pick.
No, I kind of like it. I know that we could probably do a John Hughes episode.
Hey.
Sorry. Yeah, so, I mean, this is Hughes' first movie. They gave him, or one of his first movies, they gave him $1 million and a single location. And it's funny, too, because we just talked about New Trier. It takes place at New Trier. But the filming was at Maine North in Des Plaines, and then they also filmed a little bit at Glenbrook North. And from what I remember, they're not actually in a library. They built an entire set in the gymnasium of a school, which I think is so cool. I mean, because that set
the library looks epic.
Yeah, it looks awesome. I wish our library looked like that.
And it's not. Isn't that like now a police station or something? I thought.
Well, the exterior of the school where all the kids get dropped off, and then get picked up at the end is a police station out. Yeah, and then a nice little cameo by John Hughes as, whose dad is he? I think he's Molly Ringwald's dad, driving the Beamer because that's his car. Oh no! Wait, hold on. No, maybe it's. I feel like such an idiot right now. Because so the BMW in the movie, which Molly Ringwald is getting dropped off in, is his car. That's John Hughes' BMW. But he's Michael Anthony Hall's dad. That's right.
Okay.
Yeah, he gets out of he's driving the red car.
Yeah. It's a terrible car.
He picks him up at the end, or does
he
drop him off?
Is his BMW the famous one in 16 Candles or in Pretty?
Oh, I don't know.
In Pink too.
Maybe.
Where they have that kiss at the. That's like such a great scene.
Where they're lit sort of silhouette by the headlights. Yeah, that is a great scene.
But I love. I mean, John. It's just hard to not do a Chicago episode and not talk about John Hughes in multiple cases.
Yeah, I mean, we should probably talk about him.
We didn't put Home Alone in here.
That's another good one. I mean, Oak Park has the great church there. You can check out, or you can go to the house, the Home Alone house, which
there's
exists.
a lot of movies we probably aren't talking about, but I think these are the most notable ones. So
yeah, I agree. Well, you know what? Yeah, we talked a lot about. Yeah.
We didn't mention Public Enemies either. It's a Chicago movie, but I don't think it's worthy of this list.
No, I don't think so. So we talked a lot about different movies. There's so many more we could talk about in Chicago. I know we're going to forget some. So before we go and deliberate, if there's any Chicago movies we forgot, please reach out. Let us know. Definitely use hashtag BOTB. We just want to hear more from you guys because we know you're listening. You're sending in reviews. We've heard you on the street come up to us and say, "Are you best of the best?" I didn't like this thing that you said, but we just want you to interact a little bit more. So definitely reach out with anything that we might have missed. And one that Mark didn't actually say that I was going to say, but it won't go in the mix is Road to Perdition, shot by Conrad Hall and Sam Mendes picture. Use Chicago nicely with Tom Hanks there. And one of the reasons I love that movie so much is it's definitely inspired by the famous series Lone Wolf and Cub.
Right.
Probably more off the manga, but I'm just a big fan of the Lone Wolf and Cub film
But
series.
is that movie? See, I was thinking about that too, but it's not really like all Chicago. Or
No,
it's
yeah,
just a
that's why I didn't
little
really want to
sliver,
include
right?
it too much.
Where do they live at when they're not? Is it in Illinois still? Can't remember.
You know what? That I don't know.
But yeah, this is based on a graphic novel, and this if you haven't seen Road to Perdition, just as a side note, it's a beautiful movie. This is Sam Mendes' follow up to American Beauty, I think, too, right?
That sounds right. But yeah, so we're gonna go and deliberate. There's a lot to deliberate here. It's probably gonna be a long one.
Oh yeah.
But you might disagree with us. We just hope there's a discussion. So we're going to deliberate and get back to you.
And now it's time to announce the best of the best.
All right, so we deliberated. It was actually kind of a long deliberation because we both did a list and then we had to move things around and debated. And it's not technically as cemented as most lists of ours are. Like we weren't in agreement on everything, but we think we came to a happy medium here that people will be
Yeah, we
happy
have
with.
some compromises.
Yeah,
That's what happens.
everything's about compromise.
Yep.
All right, so let's kick it to our movie trailer guy to, I guess, announce our 7 and 6 spots. Or does he do that? I forget. He doesn't do that. He doesn't do that. All right, sorry. We have to actually talk about 7 and 6. So, Mark, how about you talk about number 7?
So just to, since we are on a Chicago episode here, we had mentioned in previous episodes that our 6 and 7 are sort of on the bench movies, where the Ron Hopper and Tony Kukoc from the '90s Bulls team. But they actually were on the starting 5. I believe.
I guess it would be our Tony Kukoc, Steve Kerr.
Oh yeah, Tony Kukoc was on the bench, so that was right.
It says Steve
So
Kerr
wait,
here.
yeah, let's say.
Wait, what year is the best Bulls team?
Is that the '97 team? I think
96, 97, or 97, 98?
No, 96, 97, I believe.
All right, hold on. Let me look at this here. 62 and 20. No, we need
72 and 10 is what they.
72 and 10
Yeah.
Bulls team.
So.
That is the 90. Oh, that's the 95, 96
Oh,
Bulls.
95, 96. Sorry.
Okay,
My
I'll look
bad.
here. Hold on. Roster. Here we go. Depth chart.
Here we go.
Ron Harper was in the starting lineup, so we're looking at the Tony Kukoc, Steve Kerr.
All right, Tony Kukoc, Steve Kerr. Steve Kerr is the head coach of the Warriors, so we'll definitely include him in this. So the Tony Kukoc, Steve Kerr picks then for our list of best Chicago movies is a tie at number 7. We couldn't. This is the first in our podcast having a tie, but we wanted to include both these movies, and that is Ordinary People, directed by Robert Redford. We had mentioned previously, and then Backdraft, directed by Ron Howard. We had a hard time excluding these movies, and since they weren't going to be in the top 5, we thought it would be fine to give them a tie. So,
Right,
number
yeah.
7.
Yeah, we thought we had to have him tie, and we'll just say that's the John Sally, the tie there. And then in our 6th spot, our I guess Steve Kerr spot, we put Hoop Dreams, which is just a great documentary. It's the only one on our list, the only one we talked about today. But definitely a documentary to check out if you're a fan of documentaries, a fan of basketball. Maybe you were a basketball player in high school, but it's just a great local, intimate story of 2 kids from Chicago trying to make their dreams come true. All right, cool. Let's kick it to the movie trailer guy.
Number 5.
High Fidelity. This movie with John, we mentioned before, with John Cusack, one of his better adult performances or movies as an older person. It captures Chicago and specifically Wicker Park and the bohemian '90s artist resurgence, and the fact that it's pretty appropriate to our podcast because we do top 5 lists. He does a lot of top 5 lists. It's very funny. Like Neal mentioned, he breaks the fourth wall. Very Ferris Bueller style. So definitely worth a watch. I think definitely deserving of being in the top 5.
Number 4.
I didn't kill my wife. The Fugitive, number 4. If you're a fan of Provasic, of RDU 90, or of Devlin McGregor, then you understand why Harrison Ford's Chicago classic, The Fugitive, deserved to be in the top 5. This is one of the points of contention between Mark and I. We were arguing back and forth about how low it should go. How low can you go? And I love this movie. Like I said, it's one that I always finish when it's on TV.
Neal punched me.
I did. I punched him straight in the gut.
With one arm, just to prove a point.
Right. I put one arm behind my back.
Yep.
And great movie, great action. It's a very quick film, great stunts, and really good performance by Harry, as we call him. So number 4.
Number 3.
Untouchables.
I believe it's The Untouchables.
The Untouchables. Again, not to belabor this, but it's a one of the better historic captures of Chicago by Brian De Palma, and what an interesting era in Chicago with the whole Prohibition era, Scarface, Al Capone era. Worth a watch. I think this is definitely worth being in the number 3 spot.
Yeah, one little thing, my dad is a conductor and is always in Union Station for his job, and he always talks about how beautiful it still looks every day when he walks through it, and he loves this movie as well. So,
number 2.
We're on a mission from God. Blues Brothers. So some of you might know where we're going with number 1. I know a lot of you are going to say Blues Brothers is number 1, so it's definitely a very close number 2 and number 1 here. Scottie Pippen, Michael Jordan. So Blues Brothers, quintessential Chicago movie. We know it was based on a sketch from SNL, which is a New York thing, but it definitely shows the city in just a fun light. There's great music, great cameos. They're all over the city, and like we were talking about, any sporting event, especially football, the camera's always going to capture 2 dudes dressed like Jake and Elwood. So Blues Brothers, yeah, number 2.
At number 1, the best of the best is
Ferris Bueller's Day Off. This was, like I said, Neal said previously, but this was hard to figure out what the number 1 spot was. Ultimately, we think that Ferris Bueller, the film, captures Chicago in not only the suburbs and that lifestyle, but also the city, and between going to Wrigley Field and the Art Institute and the Willis Tower, or as it was known then, Sears Tower, the German Parade,
the Von Steuben,
just everything. It's a Chicago-centric. It's a love letter to Chicago from John Hughes, and I think if you were to show somebody, even though this movie takes place in the 80s and was shot in the 80s, if you were to say, like, if someone were to ask you, like, hey, if I watch one movie and I can kind of understand Chicago and what it has to offer as a city, this would probably be the best movie.
Yeah, one of the reasons I think that it has such staying power is, on your TV right now, if you guys actually watch commercials and you don't fast forward, you're seeing that Domino's commercial with Joe Keery from Stranger Things, where he's basically just shot for shot doing the Ferris Bueller thing. And Matthew Broderick, for him to revisit it for, I think, what was like a Honda commercial or something for a van.
And Deadpool does the same thing.
Yeah, right. And Deadpool,
they parody it.
Yeah, the end of Deadpool when he comes out in the robe and he's like, "What? You're still here? It's over. Go home." So Bueller, Ben Stein in that. Just so many classic Chicago references there. One of the lead characters, I guess now that I think about it, is wearing a Red Wings jersey, which is kind of funny because we are such a big hockey town now, but I guess we always were. But yeah, classic Matthew Broderick performance. Like Mark said, love letter to Chicago. According to John Hughes himself, it was his love letter to Chicago. So what better person to have at number 1 than sort of Chicago's golden boy?
Yeah.
Right.
I agree.
Yeah, so that was our list. It was a kind of a hard one because there's so many movies. We could have went on even more tangents, and I could have talked about other people that I startled with getting phlegm out of my throat. But we hope you enjoyed it. And like we said, if there's films that we forgot, I'm sure there is. Send them in, interact with us, talk with us on social media. We have a new Facebook page. I'll let Mark tell you a little bit about that, but make sure to hit us up on Facebook because we're posting on there all the time. We want to talk to you on Facebook. Where is it at, Mark?
If you're on Facebook, you can just search Best of the Best podcast, and you should be able to find it. Or like Neal said, if you add radar to your search, the word RADAR, you'll find it a little bit easier. But if you're on Twitter, we're Best of Best Pod on Twitter and Best of Best Pod on Instagram as well. It'd be great to get more follows, and we're posting clues every week for the episodes that are coming up, and which is fun. And like I said, we want the interaction. We want some some feedback, and obviously, subscribe to SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play. We're also on, I believe, still, right?
Yeah.
And then we're on YouTube now. So if you want to listen on YouTube or watch on YouTube, then yeah. So yeah, this is a longer episode. Sorry, this is just a lot of films to go through, and we wanted to make sure Chicago was showcased rightfully. So thanks for listening.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Life moves pretty fast. If you don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it. A person should not believe in an ism. He should believe in himself. I quote John Lennon, "I don't believe in Beatles, I just believe in me." A good point there. After all, he was the walrus. I could be the walrus. I'd still have to bum rides off of people.
Thanks for listening. If you think we've missed any of your favorites, message us on Twitter and Instagram using the handle @bestofbestpod and include your own top 5 by using the hashtag BOTB. We ask that you rate, review, and subscribe to Best of the Best on iTunes or your preferred podcast app. Have ideas for show topics, opinions, or just want to say hello? Send us an email to bestofthebestpod@gmail.com. Till next time, special thanks to Radar Studios and long live Don Hogue.
You're still here? It's over. Go home.